Testing, 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 sync clap. Hello! Most of greetings to you. My next video has been postponed by about a year, so to replace that video, I bring you this. I'm going to explain to you the political compass. According to me. You can trust me. I can bring an objective take on what every single one of these positions mean. For example, to start off with, anything on this side of the political spectrum, we can just ignore for now, because it's pretty much all the same anyways. Fuck. That'll be lesson number 1. Everything on the right of the political spectrum you can effectively ignore, just don't bother with it. You don't want to deal with any people in that spectrum. And I will explain why. So to start off with, the Democratic Party, or the Democrat Party, whatever you want to call them here in the US, they are effectively over here in relation to everything on the left. This is an important distinction to make because this will influence your thinking of anything that's further left than what you would think the Democratic Party is, which is incorrect, by the way. This is the correct position. And then slightly to the left of that, we have Social Democrats. Again, once you're past this point, there's really no point in making any distinctions. And then down here, oh, wait, hold on, I fucked up. And then over here you have Democratic Socialists. Once again, if you pass this line, you're just not fine. Over here, right over here, you have Trotskyists. Right up here, you have Stalinists, because they're a bit more authoritarian than the rest. Over here, you have Marxist-Leninists. Over there, you have Leninists. Right over here in the middle of all of this, you have Marxists. Right over here, you have Orthodox Marxists. Right over here, you have Titoists. Right over here, you have Maoists. Right over here, you have Keynesians. Right over here, you have Liberals. Right over here, you have Neoliberals. Right over here, you have Green Party. Right over here, you have Libertarians. Right over here, smack in the middle, you have socialists. Right over here, you have anarchists. Right over here, you have communists. And the list goes on and on and on and on. Basically, again, anything on this side you can just ignore. Now we get on to the actual left side of things. Probably just out of frame, aren't I? So we're switching to the red marker for this, because red is the color of revolution. And as we go into the left, you'll notice that there's a lot of revolution going on. First thing we're going to do on the authoritarian left quadrant is Bonapartists. Bonapartism is basically like the ideology of Napoleon Bonaparte, you know, dude who led the French Revolution. So like liberty, equality, affirmations, food, you know, warm hugs, those are all the things that were in the Bonapartist package back in the days of the 1800s. And really, he did a lot of things to revolutionize France and make it better. I mean, he made French people better. If you want more information, there's a Wikipedia article about it. It contains a lot of useful hints and sources as to like the kind of character he was. Personally, I put him on authoritarian left because he was an emperor. Next up, we're doing... So this is an ideology that doesn't really get a whole lot of exposure when it comes to other channels that cover politics, but cavists and cavism is kind of what you would think when you hear the word. I'm gonna pause for like 10 seconds. I want you to explain to me in those 10 seconds what you think cavism is. Ready? Go. Alright, so what cavism actually is that, sorry to interrupt you, is that cavists are like anarcho-primitivists. They want a return to monkey, but they don't just want a return to monkey, they want a full return to monkey. And the full return to monkey means de-evolutionizing back into monkey. And cavism believes, kind of pseudoscientifically, might I add, that when it comes to de-evolutionizing back into apes, a large part of that is replicating the environmental factors that led to humanity, well, hold on. Replicating the environmental factors that brought apes through life until they evolved to become humans. Hold on. I'm having trouble explaining this because I feel like this is a whole crock of shit, but like, I'm trying to steelman the point as hard as I can, so maybe this time I'll get it right. Imagine returning to caveman life. That's essentially what this is. There's way more nuance to it, there's a lot more things to iron out than just that, but the basic premise of most cavists is that they do want to return to caveman. Not necessarily full monkey, but it is a transitory process on the path to monkey. Sort of like how socialism is a transitory process on the path to communism. Basically that, but with living in caves and doing cave art and sticks and rocks and stuff like that, you know, bringing back cave art. Now that's part of the ideology that I can actually get behind, is bringing back cave art, because cave art is fucking awesome. You know, just a few dashes on the wall and then suddenly you've got yourself a woolly mammoth. It's like, hell yeah. The creativity that you can find in caves is like unmatched. But anyways, I'm digressing here. Oh, I almost forgot. The reason why it's slightly up on authoritarian left on the same level as Bonapartism is that in caveman society, just like throughout the animal kingdom, there was often some form of an alpha, or like the strongest in the herd. And while it's not necessarily well documented how caveman society worked, we can generally assume that it led to tribal society. Let's leave it at that. All right, right down here in the libertarian left spectrum, we start to get to cosmic leftism. Cosmic leftism is basically, you take all of the ideologies of leftism, all of the branches of it, all of the unique ideas and twists on leftism, Marxism, socialism, whatever you name it, include all of the disagreements and arguments as well. Take all of those things and put them into space. That's right, not only are we arguing on Earth about how best to achieve world revolution, but we're arguing in space on how to achieve world revolution. You bet your ass that once we get to Jupiter, we'll land there and we'll have figured out the key to everything. It will be the perfect synthesis of leftist thought. This method of thinking is actually endorsed a lot by conservatives right of the spectrum as well, although they don't really want to openly admit it. Their main reason for it being that they just want to take these people and just shove them into space. Think of it like a Noah's Ark of leftists. Maybe there's like 2 leftists from every school of leftist thought. Like, I don't know, it doesn't even have to be like 2 of the same gender. The end goal being, through one way or another, that once we reach Jupiter, we have the perfect strain of leftist thought. We have one standing that's a synthesis, ideally, of other ideas. However many years or light years it would take to reach Jupiter, and let alone settle it as a colony, by that point, leftism is solved. We have perfect leftist thought. And to be a foil to that, on this other side, we have anti-cosmic leftism. Anti-cosmic leftism is basically all of the ideas and ideologies and discussions within leftism as a branch of thought, including all of its disagreements and arguments and all that, and keeping it on Earth instead of sending it out into space. Now, a lot of conservatives right of this political spectrum would tend to agree with that. They don't really openly acknowledge it, but mainly they're just like, why the fuck are we sending people into space when we haven't solved the problems here on Earth? The important distinction to make between something like anti-cosmic leftism and orthodox Marxism is that, I don't know, up here in authoritarian left again, we have libertarian socialists. Libertarian socialists are like the weirdest thing to me. So like, they'll bring up topics about how, oh, it's good to have, you know, like conversations about helping humanity to go forward and like get free from capitalist oppression and shit like that. But then they're buying McDonald's. It's like, bro, just learn to boycott. Also up in the very corner of authoritarian left, and I promise there's nothing more authoritarian than this one, we have Juche. So the thing about Juche and what makes it authoritarian left is, of course, it's the ideology of Kim Jong-un, and if you know anything about North Korea throughout US news sources, you'll know that Kim Jong-un is a brutal fucking dictator. His socialist leftist policies have absolutely brought his country to ruin. I mean, the people are poor as fuck. And not only that, but he also lies about the very nature that his country is. I mean, Democratic Socialist People's Republic of North Korea. Democratic People's Republic of North Korea? How are you supposed to have democratic and republic in the same sentence? Those two are like oxymorons. Oh shit, I'm digressing. Now this is like the epitome of authoritarian leftism, because when it comes to Kim Jong-un, I mean, he is an authoritarian. I mean, look on any news station. And then his socialist policies have like made everybody poor. So like there's equality there, right? Back down here in libertarian left, we have post-materialist leftists. So you know whenever you're reading theory and you come across the phrase material conditions, and then you look on Instagram to your favorite commie posters and they're all talking about material conditions, and then you go ahead and watch a Vosh debate from like 2022, and it's like, holy shit, he's talking about material conditions. Well, basically this is a school of leftism that's like, shut the fuck up about material conditions and let's focus on policy. We don't need to worry about material conditions. We've got materials. Materials are covered. We've got the materials. Let's talk about what we do with the materials. And there's actually, hold on, I'm gonna make this a little bit more and easier to understand. To the slight left of that, we have neo-post-materialist leftists. Neo-post-materialist leftists, or NPMLs for short, even though I'm not gonna use the short version, is kind of a school of thought that says, all right, no, let's not even think about materials. There are no materials. Material doesn't exist. What's material? I don't understand. They just want to focus on policy. That's it. Just straight economic policy. Don't worry about the funding. Don't worry about materials. Don't worry about all of that. It's fine. It's covered. We already know this. It's a fact of life. We live in the US, man. Down here in the bottom of the libertarian left, we have Grimesists. Grimesism is like Green Party politics, but it's like a revolution of the economic system using Green Party philosophy. It's basically advocating for planting more trees around the world and using nature and plants as currency. Kind of like returning to like the rice market, you know, where like, you know, different amounts of rice could be used as a currency. Different amounts of corn could be used as a currency, you know, like pre-economics, bartering, trade, that sort of thing. Basically before capitalism was really like thought of as capitalism. Right over here we have anti-materialist leftists. Now this is a bit different from the other two in that not only are they like, let's not talk about materials when like material condition, mind you, when talking about, you know, how to change the nation, how to benefit the people. In fact, fuck those materials, send them into the ocean. It's trying to accomplish leftist thought and ideology and trying to accomplish social revolution while actively getting rid of any materials that would actively benefit that transition. Hey, I didn't make it up. Below that, more liberal left, we have post-anti-materialist social leftists. Post-anti-materialist social leftist, or PAMSLs for short. Where do I begin? Post-anti-materialist social leftists are a bit odd, because this actually is a strain of the anti-materialist leftist thought that occurs a few years after anti-materialist leftist action, in which most of the materials have been pushed into the ocean, and somehow after that, a strain of thought occurred which is post-anti-materialist social leftism, which advocates for the equal distribution of all remaining materials, even though they were the ones to send most of the materials into the ocean. These leftists are a bit lower on the liberal libertarian scale because they're social leftists. They believe in socialism, and that's more libertarian than anything else here. Right up here, back in authoritarian liberalism, we have ratioism. Ratioism is a pretty simple political belief, okay? It doesn't really believe in anything, it only believes in the populist side of political conversation, where more people agree with you than the other person. And that's the core of the ideology. If you can get a successful ratio against your opponent, then that effectively wins you the argument. That wins policy, that wins you the direction of the country going forward. So a good example of this, let me think for a minute. Got one. So a good example of this is when Donald Trump debated Joe Biden on the last presidential debate stage. We all saw how that went. However, Trump managed to get a successful ratio on Biden at this very moment right here.
If we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death. And
you can just see like the heart indicator next to their heads and like the hundreds of likes next to like Trump's head, and then you just, oh man. Look, if there's kids in the future watching this, if this somehow turns into one of those like 18 years ago YouTube videos and somebody's watching this in the future, just it was a bad moment. Digressing from that, when it comes to ratioism, yeah, pretty much that's all it is. You get a ratio over your opponent, more people like you, that means you win the argument. It's not a belief. It's just not. It's not an ideology. It's not real. Slightly upper from that, we have post-ratioism. Post-ratioism basically takes the core mechanics of ratioism and then takes it one step further. Not only have you gotten the ratio on your opponent, but you're continuing the comment thread. And guess what? Ratio after ratio after ratio after ratio, and you can keep going because you are dominating your opponent. At this point, your opponent has like no likes on Instagram, their account is getting checked out by other people, people are tagging their friends in this shit, and then there's like a who are you tagging gang, Tyrannosaurus Rex right there. This is like the ultimate form of like insult to one's political opponent. If you can employ post-ratioism to great effect in the online age, then you're set. Right over here, we have post-cavists. Post-cavism, if you recall cavism from earlier, basically it's like the midway point between cavism and tribalism. You're not yet at a point where you're like a formal organized tribe, you're still just a group of cavemen wandering around beating the shit out of nearby turtles. But like you as a collective have managed to make shields out of those turtles. You've made armor, you've made, you know, things that are like, ooh, Ooga, protect chest, Ooga. Alright, this is getting taxing, this is getting exhausting. I'm just gonna end the video right here.
She give me what I want, so I need a